Eclipse Photon. It's only 2 weeks left until the great release of Eclipse, and has been a really exciting year for the Eclipse project. Um, Usually I'm speaking about Xtext, and why I'm talking about Eclipse Photon now, because I got involved into platform development since quite almost a year, and I did this because I thought that this is a real place where I can help Xtext and all the other projects and all the other people that work with the Eclipse IDE better, and by improving the overall acceptance of Eclipse. This helps also projects like Xtext and everything else which builds on Eclipse. And when I started developing it on platform, I found that the platform project is a really welcoming and diverse project, and there's a lot of contribution activity there, and we have already above 100 contributors to the Eclipse platform for the Photon release, not counting Equinox and JDT and so on. So there are many people getting involved to move the platform forward. So it's very alive. So, and here today I want to show you some of the things that Photon brings you as Eclipse platform. First of all, this is a report from the automatic error reporting system. So whenever you hit a problem in Eclipse, you know that you get a pop-up and you can send an error report. And by focusing on those things that many people report and fixing those bugs, the platform gets more and more stable. All these nasty null pointers and SWT exceptions and resource out of sync exceptions and so, these are the things that we focused on and removed them. So you will have a much more stable experience with Eclipse. Of course, a very big topic this year was support for Java 9 and 10 in JDT. This has been backported to Eclipse Oxygen actually, so it's not only for Photon, but it was part of the Photon development. So you can now create projects with Java 10 and use the new var keyword and use the module class path and provide modules with Java 9 support. And this has been a huge investment by the JDT team. Another thing that gate into the Eclipse platform is support for JUnit 5. Let's have a look at this looks like. This is a test written in JUnit 5. So basically the imports change, but nothing really else. Here we have the JUnit 5 container, and you can execute those tests, of course, and you can do very nice things with JUnit 5. For example, you can also add display names for the test that you want to see here. We can add an emoji, and okay, that's not a real use case for me, but you could do this. You can add tags to your test. So I'm saying you have slow test or a fast test, plugin test, UI test, whatever. And when you execute them, without any change, all of them will be executed. But you can trigger this and change the launch configuration. So by default, both tests are executed. Now let's change the launch configuration and only execute fast tests. So now you have more control over the tests that you actually execute. And all the things like streaming API support and parameterized builds and unit tests and so on. This all gets into your platform now. One thing that people that actually use Maven or Gradle were missing is support for different class paths for regular sources and tests. And you have this now. So let's change the test source configuration, and here you have contains test source. You can toggle this, turn on, And then you have to also say, okay, the classes that are compiled have to go to a different directory than the regular classes. And you will see this now that the appearance here changed. This is a green icon now, and so you can distinguish between regular sources and test sources. But one of the most important things that is not really a feature which will add, you will get with Photon is speed. We have paid very much attention on profiling the IDE and identify things that consume much time, or where we can see where we can prove things. These can be small things like the event dispatching in SWT on macOS, or larger things that you really recognize. I show you some things that you can actually see. First of all, when you download Eclipse and start it up, it will be hell fast. So we have downloaded a tar. Let's unpack that and start it. Okay, go into Start Photon, enter the workspace path, start it, and there it is. So that's quite fast startup. That's here on Fedora, but I measured this on my Mac. It's the same. It's quite fast. Now let's take another example. Let's see search tree expansion. We have, okay, we don't see it, that it's also almost the same amount of matches here. There's something crapped off here. Let's expand the tree, and it's quite ugly here. You have this blinking cursor. It takes a while, and it's not good usability there. Now do this in Photon, and you recognize also that's Mac specific, that the cursor changes. We use now a hidden feature in macOS, so a system cursor for recognizing this. And so let's do it, and it's not blinking anymore, and it's much faster. So the tree view item has been changed to allow disabling the refresh while expanding, and this was the thing that had to be changed. Well, let's take, if we import projects from Git, let's look at Oxygen, import project, and you see here progress. Okay, it's not good because of the resolution, but you saw that the dialog scanned the directories and searched for projects. Looks quite fast. It was just 2 or 3 seconds. But actually what happened is that each and every file that was found in the directory selected was presented to the progress monitor. And that's way too much that you can read. And Photon has now a new API, which is called the toggler. And the toggler allows you to discard certain updates to the UI and say, okay, I'm only interested in any update for each 100 milliseconds, which is fast enough. So let's do the same in Photon, import projects, and that's it. Okay, so it's way faster. Something that Mika Istria will present in another talk here is the enablement for parallel project builds. At the moment, all projects are built sequentially, but you can now specify that you want to enable project builds more than one. Problem is that the builders, they must be also capable of supporting that. And this is not yet the case with Photon. So actually you will not get the benefit yet, but the infrastructure is already there. And the effect will be that instead of sequential builds, you can have parallelized builds, which are much faster. So we can expect that this will change now for the future. Another thing where we had a deeper look is in the memory footprint of Eclipse. When you download Eclipse and start it up, then you have just 40 megabytes of heap used by the IDE. That's few. Okay, that's also not fair, not because it's very empty. It's just started up. Now let's take a real use case. That's my platform. Oh, sorry. that's my platform workspace. And you see that it's roughly taking 1 gigabyte for building here. And let's have a look at the memory footprint in Profiler. You see the typical chain, this typical pattern here. And in the base, it consumes 600 megabytes heap, and plus some Eden space, and plus some code cache, and so on. Okay, these numbers do not really count until we measured what we actually do. We have 40 Git repositories that search how many projects are in my workspace, search for project files, and yeah, we'll see that I have here 1,600 projects in this workspace. Let's count the Java files, how many Java files we have here in this workspace, and it's almost 60,000. So if you take this into account, a gigabyte for building all the projects is not much. That's really, really small footprint. And it's important, of course, if you have multiple of the Eclipse instances running on the same machine. Many small things and larger things have been changed to improve the UI experience and the user experience. For example, on macOS, we will have a different default font, which also supports a bold font face, which makes the code just more readable. On Windows, you will have the native directory widget instead of an own. And do you know quick access, Command 3? It's something that you will find also in other IDEs. It's very handy. You can almost access anything with the Command 3 shortcut. So if you say just open that and you search for some preference, for example, just enter the name of the preference that you want to change, or the view that you want to open, or whatever. Everything is available through quick access. It's, you should learn this shortcut now. The open resource dialog has been changed so that it highlights also the matched names, and also lists perfect matches first. They're very small improvements, but you recognize this. It's just nicer. The dialogues have changed that the names of the buttons will really tell you what you're doing there, not just OK on cancel. And many things more. Some people think that dark themes are really important, and you prefer that. I'm not actually that kind of guy, but dark theme in Eclipse usually sucked, and this has been improved much now for Photon. So let's see how it look like in Oxygen. So you have strange colors that are highlighted, almost unreadable texts here. Yeah, light buttons on dark theme and whatever. Let's look how it looks like in Photon. Switch to dark theme, and yeah, it's quite nice. So everything is from its color better, and yeah, and the icons have changed so that they render better on a dark ground, and so many things have been done in the dark theme. Let's have a look at PDE. One thing that also sucked was the target definition editor. It was sometimes almost unusable. But it has now a new tab here, which is called source. And now you can edit directly the source of the target definition file and don't have to open another editor. And the neat thing is that what you're seeing here is actually the generic editor from Eclipse. And this has been extended to provide some nice features like content assist here to search for versions or what bundles you have there in that repository. So this is much nicer to work with target definitions right now. Another thing that also sucked is if you work with the Eclipse launch configurations. So you want to start another Eclipse instance from your workspace, and usually you use defaults, of course. So every plugin in your IDE and target platform and the workspace will be used for starting up the Eclipse instance. But if you don't want to do this, you can use you can set, I only want to use the selected plugins. So let's change that. That's actually Oxygen right now. So we say we only want selected plugins, and we use now the feature add required plugins. It adds some plugins, then we validate this, and it says, oh no, there's something missing. And this is OSGI required capabilities, generic capabilities from OSGI. It's a new feature in OSGI that is not evaluated. Okay, then you know with some experience that you have to add the Felix SCR bundle to that platform. It says now, oh, no problems detected. Okay, let's start. Let's start the launch configuration. And we forgot to set auto start levels. And okay, the bundles are valid, but the application doesn't start. So we have to take care of that. So it's very annoying to create a minimal launch configuration in Oxygen. Okay, let's have a look at Photon. Do the same. Create a new launch configuration. Then say only selected plugins, deselect everything, add required plugins. Let's have a look. It's only 120 plugins. It says, okay, it's everything okay. Let's start it. And it starts up. Actually, there were multiple things that were wrong here to make this happen. But yeah, finally we have this now. That's really helping plugin developers. Another great feature in Photon is a new API called code mining. I'm not sure if you attended Angelo Serre's presentation right before, because he invented that feature and talked about that right now already. If you didn't see that, then let's have a look. What is code mining? Code mining allows you to add textual information to your editor, which are not part of the text. So some kind of hovers-like. This is JDT, and now let's enable code minings for JDT. This is actually an extension written by Angelo, which is not part of the JDT yet. It will be contributed once it's stable enough. But now, if you see that here you have the names of parameters inlined. That's quite handy, and you can also add information. Here you have also that these annotations. You can add comments at the end of a block. You can even do actions like saying above unit tests, an action to execute the unit test or execute a main method. All these kind of things you can implement there. And JDT is not the only adapter. This is a use case from Xtext. We have inferred types, and if you remove the type, it will automatically be displayed as an annotation. So that's really a nice feature. So let's have a look at some smaller features. If you debug, that's sometimes annoying that you don't know which of the workers are actually doing something and which of the threads you have to expand. And what has changed? It's almost not good visible. I let it running now. Then sometimes you see it blinking here that workers are changing the names when they execute some action. So when you stop there and suspend your VM, then you can actually see which worker is doing something and look into that one. This speeds up your debugging process. Another nice feature is if you have the problem that you have projects with large set of dependencies, and then you face a typical problem that you are having a class not found or not class found error, and you think, okay, which library is it? Which version do I need? Then you expand the dependencies and have to search through all the dependencies and look which version of Java XRS is used. Quite problematic when the list gets larger. But now you can say here on the Appearance tab to sort the library entries alphabetically, and yeah, okay, that's easier to find which dependencies you actually have on your project. It's not changing the class path order, it's just a visibility thing, but it's really useful. One more thing that was added to JT is a new cleanup action. So you see here that you have an interface and you typical way of coding, public, static, final, something in an interface. That's totally superfluous. Everything, every field in an interface is public, static, and final. So these modifiers are just redundant. And you can use now a new cleanup action to tie this up. And not only on one file, you can just say, okay, I'm selecting a whole project and use the redundant remove redundant modifiers cleanup. And when you do this, then all the sources in the project are cleaned up. Look, removed. Same for unnecessary abstract keywords or final keywords, everything which is not useful. Okay, if you want to remove that and it's your coding style, that's your thing. But if you want to clean up your code, then that's the easiest way. Of course, you can also trigger this by a save action. What you also can do now is manage project natures in the preferences. So once you have a project that misses the Java nature, for example, or the Maven nature, you can now go to the project natures setting here and modify that. You get a warning here that this is really an advanced feature, and you should be you should know what you're doing there, and it could also break your code. So here you see what project natures are available. We add Maven nature, so you can match that. Okay. That's just an excerpt of that, what Photon brings. There's many more things, but I'm already running out of time. Many things have been cleaned up. The APIs that are not used are marked for deprecation. We dropped support for Windows Vista. Who is using Windows Vista anymore? No, not really useful. No. Okay, and also some things like the update configurator API is removed, so you don't have a dependency on that deprecated update API anymore. Yeah, you have more preferences to specify things that you do by content type, so which files are associated with a certain content type, which editor is associated with content types, and so on. These are things that were added, and many more things. So if you find me around here, you can just ask me, and I will happily demonstrate more things. But yeah, from now my time's up. So get Eclipse and enjoy it. Thank you. Questions? Okay, I'm around here. I will share information for beer.